not to completely switch gears, but
But
yeah.
let's talk about something sad and serious.
Yeah, no, seriously though, obviously, unless you're under a rock, you know that George Floyd was murdered, and there's a huge movement going on, not only just in the United States but around the world. So I feel like it's my duty almost to kind of speak up on that. I'm only going to say a few words because honestly, I this is a complicated situation and there's a lot of layers to it. But I at least want to say that like I hope that you stand with the Black Lives Matter movement. I know I do. I'm sure you saw my shirt. It compelled me to make a shirt
It
this
is an
week.
awesome shirt, by the way.
Thank you, Justin. But yeah, I just feel like I'm only half black, but I'm still part of the black community, right? If I went out to like a city in Minneapolis, I would be scared if I got pulled over by the police,
Yeah.
So I can't say that that's what it's like here in New Mexico. Thank God we're a little bit more progressive in that regard, but there's millions of Americans, people of color that look just like me, that aren't in that situation. And so, people are fed up with it. That's why we have these protests going on. That's why we have some of these riots going on, which is also layered because a lot of that are, I mean, from what I've been reading up on, a lot of these are like anarchists that are not even part of the freaking movement, that are causing some of these riots. But regardless, what I was telling Lucas this week, I don't necessarily condone the violence that's going on, but I definitely don't condemn it either because I understand where these people are coming from.
You understand the anger, right? And
Yeah, well, and I mean, honestly, like we're talking years, decades, generations worth of anger here. That's just
and of nothing changing. This being the
right.
exact same thing that we experienced in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s and the 2000s.
I was gonna say, just a few years ago, we had the same thing happen. So, I mean, like seriously, like this is be on the right side of history, people.
And
Like,
if I could add my 2 cents here, because Eugene, as a person of color, I think has the most to contribute to this conversation, which is why we kind of let him lead this introduction. Obviously this affects Justin and I differently, but we're all human, and I know we both think that what we saw was horrific, right? And
Yeah,
completely
absolutely.
unacceptable for what is supposed to be a civilized culture. Where I feel right now like we're living in like a third world nation. Like not to get political, but the president is literally clearing out crowds of peaceful protesters with tear gas so he can do a Bible photo shoot, right? Like it's proto fascism. But through all of this, one positive thing that I'm very thankful for, in addition to having two parents who are incredibly open-minded and able to discuss all of this with and get all of that out, I also have a friend in Eugene. And me being a white man and Eugene being a black man, being able to talk about it together and share our opinions where we agree, where we disagree, and have a dialogue. And Eugene, I've seen how much it's affected you, and I feel just awful about that. But I'm very thankful that I know you and that we can kind of communicate together through this thing.
Yeah,
And
no, definitely. And that's meant the world to me. I gotta say, like a lot of my friends actually have reached out and just to like
yeah,
ask, hey, are you okay? Or hey, I just need to talk about like what's going on. Like, do you
yeah.
have a moment, type of thing. And that's if I were to put a closing statement on this for me, it would be listen to your friends, family members that are not just black but people of color, because yes, like right now the focus is Black Lives Matters, absolutely, I say that, absolutely, but like, there's Muslims and sheiks and people who just don't look like what people would say an American, and they're seeing a lot of this same discrimination.
My dad is a white Italian. He's Italian and English, but he's got a big black beard. He's got that dark Mediterranean skin, and he has had people make comments. One time
Mm-hmm.
he went to the bank and he had walked there and he was a little out of breath, and they were questioning why this guy who looked he looks kind of Middle Eastern, and they were questioning why he was in the bank and what he was doing there and why he was out of breath.
Yeah.
Like he's he's definitely white, but he's still the kind of person that looks intimidating enough that he could be in trouble in the wrong situation if he
Definitely.
got pulled over in a city where a guy just happened to hate, even though he's not Middle Eastern. Where if they just happen to not like Middle Eastern people, they could see him, and instead of thinking he's Italian, they could think that he's and yeah. So I'll never say that I totally understand your point of view because it's uniquely you and it's not something that I've personally experienced,
Mm-hmm.
but I can definitely empathize. And,
Sure.
I hope you know that, we love you, man. And we're going to be here with you this whole time. So,
Yeah, definitely.
And I mean, and I guess to close out my end of it, seen a couple people on social media say this, and I think it really sums up the Black Lives Matters movement. Is people like to counter with All Lives Matter, thinking that that's perfectly innocently thinking that that's a good thing.
it
Mm-hmm.
sounds innocent, right? But
Right.
in the context, it's harmful.
Yeah.
Right. You number one, you are reducing the power that the movement has by you basically saying like they're saying
We're all
yeah,
having the same experience
yeah,
when
and we're
right
not.
now, yeah,
Right.
exactly.
And,
Yeah.
and to mimic what I've seen a lot of people say on social media, until Black Lives Matter, all lives do not matter.
Yeah.
As
Mm-hmm.
long as anybody's life, Black lives, LGBT lives, the Muslim lives, Asian lives, whatever. Like as long as anybody's life is being oppressed systematically, then you cannot, in good conscience, say all lives matters. And that's what we're facing right now. Is there are groups of people right now, like I mentioned the LGBT community. This is Pride Month, and you're
Yeah.
hearing nothing of it because that community, who knows what oppression is stepping aside and saying,
There's
"This is
there's a there's a
this is yours
global
right now." You know?
there's a global pandemic going on right now, and you're not hearing anything about it because of this. I mean, people are dying, not just as a result of everything that's going on, but because we have to mobilize and speak our minds. And like, I mean, the virus isn't going to stop. That's
Right.
still a major threat to people. If I could, as my final thing, just say, anybody that's listening to this or still listening to this at this point, first of all, thank you. But also, please be safe. Please peacefully protest and do not put yourself in danger. Speak your mind and go out if you want to go out, or use your social media as a platform, or whatever you want to do. I'm a very quiet, personal person. I don't speak much about this thing, but I have very strong feelings. But be safe and don't hurt anyone, and wear a mask and socially distance, and please don't put yourself in harm's way over this, because it's very important. But nothing is worth you dying over. You need to survive, and frankly, you need to be above you know everything, and be strong. And that's hard, but don't succumb, and don't go out and get sick over something like this. Like, take care of yourself. And
Definitely.
I know that sounds contradictory, because I'm definitely not saying don't speak your mind, but be safe. Don't lose your life, because if you lose your life now, the next
It's
time we
one
need
less
you
voice.
the next
I
time we need you
yeah.
for something like this,
I
you're not
I
going to
would
be
say
around.
that it's almost more important, at least for me, to like I had mentioned before, have those conversations with your loved ones, friends,
Mm-hmm.
that are people of color. But then number two, when you do see this frankly shitty behavior from your friends, family member, coworkers even, speak out, because now is not the time to be silent about these issues any longer, you know? Like, even if it's just like a, hey, like my coworker made a joke and said the N-word, like tell them, nah, man, that's not okay. You know, like that, even if it's just something as small as that, that's what would make me happy during this movement.
And I'm sorry, I don't want to prolong this, but I do want to say it's okay to be wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And it's okay to have done something wrong and not know it until recently. Like like a few years ago we had the Me Too movement in full swing, and like I'll be honest, I used to be one of those guys who said the wrong things and did the wrong things and whatnot, and I'm older now and I'm wiser now, and I know that those things are wrong, and it's okay to admit that you've made a racist joke, and it's okay to admit that you've said those things that you're not supposed to say, but better now, and you're going to try harder to, because that's how we grow, that's how we
Yeah.
learn, like admit your mistakes, and just improve yourself for everybody's benefit.
Yeah. Well said. Well said. All
This
right.
has
Well,
been Infendo Radio episode 548.
this, this,
yes.
This has been the 80s TV show where Steve Urkel
very special episode.
comes out and he takes off the glasses and he goes, "I'd like to talk to you all about gun violence." And
Yeah. And thank you, if you made it this far, you listened to what we had to say. If you if you disagree with what we had to say, talk to us. When maybe we can help to come to a common agreement, or help you to change your mind if, like, honestly, like, you're one of these people on the other side of the fence, because I'm never going to be on that other side of the fence, I'll tell you what, but I want to help you to come to ours.
But something we haven't had in this country in a long time is the ability to talk to somebody who thinks differently.
I'll have that dialogue with you. Yeah, exactly.
You're probably the closest person I have to that, Eugene, because we come from two different political parties. But but I think we are pretty understanding of the areas that we differ. And really what you've come to find out about us, I think, in the time that we've spoken about serious things, is we're really not all that different at all. To the point where, like I don't see us as being that opposed, but yeah, no, for sure, it's a thing. So please, let's be civil and let's have a conversation for once.
I mean, my father-in-law is a Trump supporting former corrections officer, but when you talk politics, especially economic politics, with him, he sounds very liberal. So you never
Sure.
it's like you never know where you're going to find that common ground with somebody, no matter how different your backgrounds and opinions are.
Right. So
once again, this has been Infendo Radio episode 548. We love you all. Good night.
Good night.
Stay
Bye,
safe.
Twitch.